Good afternoon and welcome to the Rancho Mirage City Council meeting for Thursday, April 17th. The council will also be sitting as the Library Board, Housing Authority, and representing the Redevelopment Successor Agency. So glad to have you all here today on the beautiful day in Rancho Mirage. And we'll begin with the flag salute from our Mayor Pro Tem and soon-to-be Mayor Iris Mottridge.
Thank you. Hand on your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Cindy, can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Hines?
Present.
Councilmember Hobart?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smotrich? Councilmember Weil?
Here.
And Mayor Kite.
Here, thank you. Last week, the City of Rancho Mirage presented a 4-day cultural festival, which I'm sure you all read about over the weekend. This first-time free festival conceived and organized by the city's Cultural Commission, including an exciting array of cultural activities and performances designed to ensure that everyone could find something to enjoy, and indeed they did. The festival began on Thursday, April 10th, with the Palm Springs Women in Film and Television presenting a star-studded panel of women from the motion picture and television industry. Sherry Belafonte, Jermaine Franco, Stephanie Kramer, and Ruta Lee all served as panelists for the event presented right here in the City Council chambers. The fascinating topic that the panel addressed was how women have affected change in popular culture. On Friday evening, Los Palermos Mariachis and the Ballet Folklorico presented a lively musical and dance performance at the amphitheater at the river. The colorful dancers and inspiring music filled the amphitheater with happy folks for a sunset concert. Free self-guided tours of Rancho Mirage artist homes and studios were offered on Saturday, April 12th. The event began at City Hall, where a giant Baroni sculpture greeted participants as they parked their cars and entered City Hall. Courtesy tickets, maps, and introductory remarks were, as well as the video of participating artists, were presented on the day at the event at City Hall. Also at City Hall was an exhibition of student artwork that was enjoyed by all prior to taking the self-guided tour. The tour included 4 Rancho Mirage artists who graciously opened their homes and hearts to over 200 guests. The cultural festival concluded on Sunday, April 13th at Sunnyland Center and Gardens. The Cultural Commission presented a historic cultural tribute to Rancho Mirage and a patriotic salute to America's wounded warriors. Fred the Hammer Williamson, national spokesman for the Wounded Warrior Project, hosted the event that included performances by Michelle Delafave, one of Bob Hope's favorite entertainers on the Armed Forces Entertainment on his trips abroad, Company B, Andrew's Sisters musical trio, and a surprise headline, Jack Jones delighted all of the musical talents. In addition, the Palm Desert High School Chamber Singers and the Palm Springs High School Band performed at the event. The 29 Palms Color Guard added an inspirational moment to the entertainment and inspiring Sunday evening tribute to Rancho Mirage and our nation. Rancho Mirage Cultural Commission is comprised of the chairwoman, Beverly Green, the co-chair or vice chair, Peggy Cravens, Bob Walker, and Sandy Woodson. And they also had an active volunteer in Mitch Bloomberg. They all did an outstanding job in presenting the first of what we hope to be an annual Rancho Mirage cultural event. So at this time, I'd like them all to come forward to the dais, and we have an award for you. Well, you guys can now relax a little bit after that 4 days of everybody really being busy. Why don't we stand right in here and you can face the camera over there. Okay. Everybody face the camera and we'll get a picture of you.
Gotcha.
Want to thank all of you for the work that you put in for 9 months to bring the cultural events to where they ended up. And everybody said that when they attended, they had a great time. It was a lot more than anybody expected. And certainly, I think all 4 programs brought a new meaning to culture in the city of Rancho Mirage. So we have some certificates here to present to each one of you, and these are certificates of recognition. On behalf of the entire City Council, the City of Rancho Mirage, we hereby recognize Beverly Green for her service to the City of Rancho Mirage as an exemplary member of the Cultural Commission, presented the 17th day of April and signed by myself as mayor. Beverly? And Peggy Cravens, there you are.
Thank you.
Sandra. And Robert. Thanks again. Would you like to say anything, Beverly?
Just on behalf of the Cultural Commission, I thank you for your support, the support of the City Council. We look forward to the 2nd annual Cultural Festival next year. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
And I would like to thank your wonderful, wonderful staff, in particular Sylvia Nino and Johnny Alme, and of course, Randy Binder. We couldn't have done it without them.
Well, it was a fast and furious 4 days, but everybody made it through, and the city appreciates all of your efforts. You did a great job, and we'll look forward to next year. So thanks again. Big hand for the Cultural Commission. And Cindy, would you like to come down? Surprise, surprise. We're going to ask your fellow city clerk to come down.
I definitely thought I was pointing to him.
Bess? Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the job of the city clerk is tough. They have to coordinate meetings, they have to take minutes, they prepare ordinances and resolutions, they prepare proclamations. The city clerk and the deputy city clerk have 5 bosses just like I do. And it's no wonder that there is an official Municipal Clerks Week in the United States of America. Actually, I think it's an international week. International, excuse me. It is. So in appreciation, the mayor and I would like to honor our city clerk, Cindy Scott, and our deputy city clerk, Bess McGladry, for our city clerk, for the work that you do for the city of Rancho Mirage on behalf of the citizens and the city staff and the city council. Thank you very much, and the mayor is going to read the proclamations that we're about to present to you.
Thank you, Randy. And Bess, you probably know these proclamations by heart, don't you? As the person that does hundreds of these proclamations. So as you know how it begins, whereas the office of municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of the city of Rancho Mirage and local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to ever be mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of municipal clerk, and finally, it is now appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of municipal clerk, and therefore be it resolved that I, Richard W. Kite, Mayor of the City of Rancho Mirage, and the entire City Council, and Randall K. Binder, City Manager of the City of Rancho Mirage, do hereby proclaim the week of May 4th. We have to do this early since May 4th is really going to be busy.
And we're so excited.
And we're so excited. We want to have this early. To recognize this as Municipal Clerks Week, to Cindy Scott, the #1 Municipal City Clerk. And we have a similar proclamation to Bess. And Bess, you can hang that up with all those other proclamations that are yet to be done. So thanks again. Would you like to say anything as City Clerk?
Yes, thank you, first of all, for the lovely proclamation and for observing our work as city clerks. And I would really like to introduce my very supportive staff, of course, Bess, my deputy, who's my right arm, as well as the others in our city clerk department. Troy Wilson, would you stand up, Troy? He is our records manager. And in the back, we have Ron Hall, who's our records coordinator. And also in the back is Linda White, our records tech. And I thank you guys very much for everything you do for us.
And thank you for being here today. Appreciate it. Okay, we will now get on with the agenda, and we'll begin with non-agenda public comments. And if there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any item that's not on the agenda today, you're certainly welcome to come forward and give your name and address, and we would hope that you would limit your comments to 3 minutes. If not, you drop through this chute in the floor and you're never to be seen again. So, is there anybody here who would like to speak on a non-agenda public item? Okay, thank you very much. We will now move on to City Council and board member comments, and I'll begin with Scott Hines. Scott?
Thanks, Mayor. I just, the commissioners have left, but I just want to echo again what a wonderful job they did on the Cultural Commission. We worked with them, you and I, for the better part of a year with Randy on kind of retooling that effort, and it was just wonderful. It was great to see the smiles and the community support for that, and I just really want to applaud under a lot of pressure and against all odds. That commission just really pulled through, and I'm just so proud of Beverly and Peggy and Sandy and Robert, and also Mitch Bloomberg, who really kind of filled in as sort of an adjunct commissioner, and all the work that they did, and also the committees of citizens who stepped in to facilitate the different aspects of that project, and the participants of our performers and artists. It was just really a wonderful event, and very proud that Rancho Mirage was able to give that gift to the general public. So well done to the Cultural Commission.
Okay, thank you. Ted? I don't have anything. Okay, Iris? And Dana, I know you have something you'd like to say.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about unfunded pension liability, but because we have this item that'll take a while, I think I'll hold it off till the next meeting. But I do want to discuss the subject of the unfunded pension liability, which is one of the serious issues facing city government, but I'll talk about it at the next meeting, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, there will be another meeting. Okay, thank you. Pardon me?
I do have one announcement.
Okay. One thing I want to remind you all about is if you have any interest in seeing what the new Ritz-Carlton Rancho Mirage is going to look like, they are having a gala event the day after they open. They're supposed to open on May 15th. United Way is scheduling their 24th VIP gala on the evening of May 16th. So if you'd like to attend, contact United Way. It's going to be a great event, and it will be the first event at the new hotel. And the Ritz-Carlton really decided to have an event up there and have an organization that represents so much, not only in our valley, but across the country was very appropriate. So hope to see you up there on Friday, May 16th.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
do have one comment when you're finished.
You had your chance.
I know, but I blew it. But I'm
Okay,
ready.
go ahead.
Howard?
Just,
Go ahead.
just one quick remark. You probably noticed in your newspaper that our wonderful city clerk put an ad in regarding our commissioner appointments that are going to be coming available. So if you didn't see it in the newspaper, it was sent out also on an e-blast from the city as well as an e-blast from the library. There it lists all the different commissions, and if anything sounds good to you, read down a little bit further. It gives a description of the different commissions and the jobs that are entailed. So if you find somebody that interests you, you can fill out an application online, or you can come into City Hall and fill out an application. And we would love to have more of the public come to our city and want to participate and give you an opportunity to give us your talents and your experience and add your professionalism. So we welcome any and all people that want to turn in an application. Thank you.
Thank you. And you do have to be a resident of Rancho
You do have
Mirage.
to be a resident, and appointments will be made very soon, and new job positions will...
Except for ARB, I guess, is the only one you don't have to be.
Right.
Okay. Cindy,
But-
what's the cutoff date for applications? April 25th.
Right, and new people will be put in position on June 1st.
Right. Okay.
So-
Okay, Randy, City Manager, you have a comment?
One comment, Mr. Mayor, as you mentioned, the Ritz-Carlton will be opening on May 15th, and Steve Buchanan, our building official, reminded me today that the certificate of occupancy, the C of O, for the spa building was issued today. That's the 20,000 square foot spa building, has an occupant load of up to 300 people. The Spa Suites building will be ready for a C of O in mid-July. Is that right, Steve? Mid-July, okay. Thank you.
If you really want to be pampered in the best way you could possibly want, the new spa at the Ritz-Carlton is second to none. They've spent a huge amount of money to make sure everybody has a wonderful time up there. So that's another good reason to go up to the Ritz. Okay, with that ending City Council and board member comments, we'll now move on to the consent calendar. And the consent calendar are items routine in nature and can be approved by one blanket motion.
Mayor, I think we need to approve the minutes.
I'm sorry. Did I approve the minutes? Okay, I need a motion to approve minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
I know.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, now we'll move on to the consent calendar. And is there anybody in the audience that would like to pull one of the items on the consent calendar? Is there any council member that wants to pull out?
I would like to pull number 3.
Number 3, okay. And we'll go on with the other items with the city manager. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Your consent calendar today starts with, obviously, with number 1. This is the fiscal year 2014-2015 levy of assessments for landscape and lighting maintenance district, number 8701. This was a district established in 1987. What's on your agenda today are 3 resolutions to initiate the assessments. The second is to declare the intent to levy a special assessment, and the third is the engineer's annual report. If the council approves this today, then the public hearing to set the actual assessment will be on May 15th, 2014 for final approval. Item number 2 on consent is to receive and approve the fiscal year 14-15 rent levels for all 4 of our senior affordable housing projects. Item number 3 has been pulled by Mayor Pro Tem. Item number 4 is approval of contracts. 3 of the 4 are simply contract extensions, and the other one is for cabinetry at Parkview Villas. And then item number 5 on consent are demands, or checks as we sometimes refer to them, and we're here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the city manager on those items? Can I have a motion to approve items 1 through 5 with the exception of number 3?
So moved.
So there's a motion and a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0. And go back to item number 3 was the resolution approving the cell tower lease.
Right.
What was your question?
Well, I had a
Iris?
couple questions and just some clarity.
Could you pull the mic up to you a little
Just
bit?
some clarity for our viewing audience, because I know a number of people have mentioned to me through the years that they're very anxious for some of these towers to be erected because of poor reception. And I wanted to just ask about this particular location. Number one, has there been any opposition from Thunderbird people? Number two, are they definite about building? And number three, are they really required to build as far as a time limit for construction? Is that something that we can make sure that it gets built? I know a number of these agreements have taken place, and very often they do not get built.
That does happen, doesn't it? I think we have about half of them out there that have
Yeah.
not been built. Randy, would you like to address those questions?
Certainly. There is no opposition. As a matter of fact, there's a letter of support, and that was one of the staff's requirements. There was a letter of support from the Thunderbird Heights Homeowners Association, and their support is contingent upon Verizon allowing co-location on this
Right.
monopole to allow other carriers to be located on there. Definite about building. I think that if they, first of all, this is the lease because we own the fire station, and it's a lease for $2,200 a month for 5 years with five-year extensions. This is obviously the first step if they're serious. They still have to come back for a conditional use permit approval, a discretionary approval by the city council, and that CUP is good for, is it 1 year? It's good for 1 year, so they can pull a permit within that 1 year. I think your question is, though, if we're going to spend the time and effort approving it, are we guaranteed that they will build it? I mean, Steve, is there anything that where we can force them to exercise a permit
You can do that in the lease.
in the lease?
They wouldn't agree to it if we did it, though. That's the problem.
And actually, this is not just happening in Rancho Mirage, it's happening across the country. Because the technology is rapidly changing, and a lot of them are coming back and remodifying their conditional use permits because the technology has changed.
You know, Mayor Pro Tem is right. We've had over 30 approved in the city that the council's approved, but we've only had 15 or 18, right, that have actually been built.
So I guess we just hope that they will accept the terms of the lease and move forward. And certainly I think it would be in our best interest to make sure that they understand how much we do need this and how serious we are about the construction of this facility.
You know, Mr. Mayor, I
Make
think
just
that
one comment. Oh, I'm sorry, Ted. Go ahead.
we continually hear from residents about, obviously, the poor reception in various areas. I know that I live in Mission Hills, and the reception there is dreadful. And many times, the party will respond that we understand that it's very difficult with the city. The city holds up getting a permit and so forth. And that's really an excuse. The city is extremely cooperative. As Randy said, I believe we've had as many as 20 permits out at one time that were, not built upon. We've issued the permits. And so it has nothing to do with the city. It has to do with what our attorney said, is that technology changes and the companies themselves do not follow through with building the cell tower. So we're more than happy to cooperate, but unfortunately there's no follow through. And so the residents should be aware of the fact that we'll do everything in our power to see that they're developed.
Thank you, Ted. Dana, did you have a
No, I'm
comment? Okay. All right, Iris, are you okay with that? Okay, can I have a motion, please, to approve this item on the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. And item number 3 on the consent calendar is approved. Okay, we'll now move on to the public hearings. And the first item today is a public hearing on a 122-lot single-family residence development located at the northwest corner of Ramon and Rattler Road. That is the cross-section going into the high school. Today we're going to discuss the negative declaration, the approval of the tentative track map, and the approval of the PDP. So at this time, Josh will give us the information. Josh, look forward to this development. It's been a while since we.
It has been a while. It's been about 18 months from the very beginning, so this is a good day.
A turn of development in the whole valley. Good for everybody.
This will be our first piece. As the mayor stated, it is a subdivision of approximately 40 acres into 122 single-family lots. Accompanying with this is a PDP and the environmental assessment. This is an aerial of the proposed site location. It's the 40-acre piece just south of the high school. You see Duval Road to your left, to the west. It's off of Ramon Road, and then Rattler Road runs north and south, right up to the high school. The site itself is zoned high density, which is up to 9 units per acre. To the south, we have Mira Vista, which is a medium density residential. To the east, we have vacant land, which is currently in the county, unincorporated, also pre-zoned at 4 to the acre. To the north, we have the new Rancho Mirage High School, and to the west, we have vacant land zoned mixed use. This is the proposed track, which would subdivide the approximately 40 acres into 122 single-family residential lots. As I stated, the density for this project is 3.33 units, so 3 1/3 unit per acre, which is well below what's allowed per code up to 9. As council recalls, about 10 years ago, the city approved Belisara, which is a 450-unit condominium development with affordable housing units on this exact same site. The project was never built, but that particular project had approximately 4 times the amount of units that this particular project proposes. The name of the subdivision will be Rancho Bella. It will have access to the gated community, will be off of Rattler Road. I have my mouse here. Approximately 700 feet north of Ramon. The entry has been designed to handle the traffic and stacking distance necessary for a subdivision of this size. Landscape parkways are to be provided both along Ramon and as well as Rattler Road. The part of this project which was already constructed was on a safe routes to school grant the city got a couple of years ago. We already constructed the meandering sidewalks and the ultimate right-of-way widening for both Ramon and Rattler Road. The internal road system will be a series of private meandering streets aligned with different directions. And then out here along Ramon Road, we have an existing bus turnout, and the applicant has been conditioned to design an architectural bus enclosure to fit that site, subject to staff review. Secondary emergency access is provided here at the southwest corner, taking access onto Ramon Road. It has been approved by the fire. Internal perimeter streets are proposed in order to mitigate the noise generated by the traffic along Ramon and Rattler Roads. The same principle of noise mitigation is used along the northern boundary, which is the Rancho Mirage High School, and increased rear yard setbacks are provided along the western mixed use. So what that says in a nutshell is due to the site location and the conditions on the site, staff require that there's perimeter streets located along Ramon, located along Rattler, an additional buffer here, which is open space, and then larger setbacks along here to protect the site from its surrounding uses and impacts. The minimum lot size for the R8 zone is 7,000 square feet. These lots are proposed to range in size from 8,200 to approximately 12,500 square feet with an average of 9,231. The maximum permitted lot coverage is 35%. Minimum setbacks requirements include 20-foot front yard, 25-foot rear yard, 15 street side, and 10-foot side yards. All these parcels, as proposed, exceed the minimum requirements of the RH zone. The terrain gently slopes downward from the southwest corner towards the northeast corner where the 1.5 acre retention basin is located. Pad elevations at the southwest corner, which is here, are at 342 feet, with pad elevations at the northeast corner here at 331. So we're looking at a difference of about 11 feet across the entire 40-acre site, relatively flat in the schemes of engineering. The internal loop streets and exterior parkway landscaping provide generous setbacks that will ensure low visual profiles of the residences as seen from Rattler and Ramon roads. The homes closest to Ramon Road are nearly 100 feet back from the Ramon Road curb line. So with With the current curb line here, the wide landscape, and then we have our additional street, the nearest home is approximately 100 feet away. This is a rendering of the entry of Rancho Bella. In your booklet, you'll find on pages S4 through S7, it contains a table which identifies which lots will receive which of the 5 floor plans. The applicant is proposing 5 different floor plans ranging in size from 3,086 to 3,579. Each floor plan has the option of a reverse floor plan, the choice of 3 distinct architectural elevations, and 3 different color schemes, which provides for a potential of 126 different varied elevations as seen from the street. This is the Plan 1 floor plan. This is the smallest home at 2,426 square feet of living space with a 660 square foot 3-car garage, which brings us up to approximately 3,100 square feet. There are 23 Plan 1s proposed with various elevations and orientations. Here are the 3 proposed architectural styles for the Plan 1. Ridgeline heights in this particular model vary between 10, 13, 16, and ultimately at 18 feet at its highest ridgeline. This is an elevation of a Plan 2. This totals approximately 3,200 square feet and includes a front-loaded 2-car garage with a single-loaded side garage. The side garage, as seen from this elevation, is this piece here. The home has varying roof heights between 12 and 18 feet at its entry tower, and this particular example is the 2X, and the 2X is going to be the one with the 3rd car option. It allows on some of the wider lots to squeeze in that 3rd car. In talking with the applicant, demographics state that the 3rd car is a very desirable aspect for many home buyers, so they wanted to make sure they incorporated that into their design. Grand total, there's a total of 35 Plan 2s being proposed. This is the Plan 5, or the 5th floor plan. It's the largest of all the floor plans at just under 3,000 square feet of living space. It includes the split-car 3-car garage, and the home itself with garage totals 3,600 square feet. Here's the 3 elevations for the Plan 5. This has the highest with the peaks at a total of 20 feet, which is the maximum height allowed from grade per code. There is a grand total of 15 Plan 5s. This is an example of one of the side elevations for the rustic Italian design, which happens to be for Plan 3. Note the consistency in architecture with exposed rafter tails, window ledgers, lintels, covered patios, and side-loaded garages. Also, each of the plans in the exhibit booklet has a diagram included in the upper left corner of the page, which can be seen here. And this is where they're going to identify future solar panels. The applicant's been very on board with solar panels as part of this project, and they're going to offer them as an option for each of the home buyers. Our code requires that the homes themselves be pre-wired and ready for solar in case that decision's made. During the review with the ARB, there was some concern about solar protection to the western-facing homes. Each of the plan includes an illustration on how the rear of the home will receive solar mitigation in the event that the back of the home faces west. This is an example of how it would be done for the Plan 1. What the applicant did is they did roof projections over each of these windows, architecturally integrated into the home. They stick out approximately 3 feet, and they'll provide that shade for the home as it comes on the western side. Here's a sample of the color material boards for the Italian design. We talked about the variety. You can see here with the different choices of materials, roof colors, stone colors. You can get quite a variety in the homes. They will propose, for example, on this one, concrete S-tile with 1 to 3 choices. You have 3 choices of main stucco color. The trim colors are designed to be integrated within the main stucco and stone colors. And then this particular model will have dry stacked ledger stone. Here is the Desert Modern color material. It is use of flat concrete and the influence with shades of gray. So you can see some of the subtle differences. Let me kind of flip back and forth. You can see the stone in the darker colors, some of the lighter colors in the smoother stone. This is the overall landscape plan for the project. Includes street frontages, a corner element for Rattler and Ramon Road, the retention basin, a neighborhood pocket park, typical front yards, master tree plan, master lighting plan, and the main entry landscaping. Each of the interior streets has an established tree line consisting of Swan Hill olives and oaks, with traffic calming devices consisting of palms. This is the entry coming into the project. The entry will be flanked on both sides by 3 9-foot-high 32-inch squared columns covered in limestone, which are located here and here. The trees lining the entry will be a combination of 36-inch box multi-trunk acacia, 8 to 10-foot-high Washingtonias, and 24-inch box Mediterranean fan palms. The first island will house the project signage, entry keypad, and have Mediterranean fan palms. The second island will house the entry gates and multiple 36-inch box Sonoran Palo Verdes. The entry drive itself will consist of interlocking pavers with concrete bands. All planters will have desert shrubs and a base of compacted DG. The main entry gate is constructed from metal and provides transparency into the subdivision. The height of the entry gate will vary but will not exceed the 6-foot maximum allowed by code. Looking at the Ramon Road Parkway, it's a major arterial street with a required 32-foot wide parkway. Rattler is considered a collector and requires a 17-foot wide parkway. Within these parkways is a 6-foot meandering sidewalk and bike trail, which we talked about earlier. And then the emergency access, just to see a little better, is located here, all the way kind of to the left of the project. Both parkways have similar landscape treatment and have either 24-inch or 36-inch box trees that consist of the sweet acacia, the palo verdes, and the African sumacs. Also proposed are the Washingtonias at 8 to 10 foot high. As conditioned, landscaping in the Ramon Road median will be installed at a future date by the city with DIF funds when the development in that area warrants it. It's still a little premature, and we don't typically like to install it until the development around the area has occurred to prevent blow sand and damage from the median once it's actually installed. This is a rendering of the elevation of Ramon and Rattler Road. Code requires that they have a minimum of 2,400 square feet of enhanced landscape area. Within this area are those columns that we also saw at the entry to kind of tie into the project. They're 5 9-foot high, 32-inch square limestone columns. The palms vary in height, starting with the Washingtonias. At the back, a 3-foot split-face wall with cap in between each column and 24-inch box blue agave towards the front. We have other planting materials, which include the desert shrubs, the 3 to 4 foot diameter boulders, and a base of decomposed granite. Here are some examples of the thoughtful details in the plans. The upper left shows the details of the Ramon Road Rattler intersection, the rendering we just looked at from an aerial view, treatment with the enhanced landscaping in the columns. You can kind of see the columns coming in a circular shape here, so you can kind of see where they're located. The upper right corner is the T intersection with dense planting as a focal point to screen the headlights from shining towards the home, so those are internal within the subdivision. And then the lower left shows the mailbox cluster along the main entry road, and lower right shows the details of the traffic calming devices within the subdivision. This is some samples of the different materials. On the upper right is a 6-foot perimeter wall that is tan split-face block with a precast concrete cap and runs the entire perimeter of the subdivision, with the exception of the wrought iron entry and the retention basin, which will also receive wrought iron. The upper left and middle show the smooth limestone veneer to be used on the columns, and then the styling of interlocking pavers, mailbox clusters, and open fencing are also illustrated in this slide. The retention basin is located at the northeast corner of the subdivision. It's approximately 1.5 acres in size. The retention basin will double as a neighborhood recreational amenity. I know Council's been talking about this with the last few subdivisions, and the problem with some of these smaller tracts is the basin's just not large enough to house true amenities, to be truly used as an open space. Well, fortunately, due to the size of this project, 1.5 acres is a nice open space. It's very wide. Consider the dog park you just looked at, a little over 2 acres. You get a kind of a feel of how large this area is. The basin will have a turf base, walking path, barbecues, and gazebo. The basin will be heavily landscaped with African sumac, sonoran, Swan Hill olives, and oak trees, all 24 or 36-inch box in size. The basin will tie into an open space walking path along the northern project boundary separating the high school. So as part of that buffering, part of that impact to alleviate from the high school, we required some open space. So you can kind of see the trail zigzag its way out of the park. This will tie into a trail that runs this full length going down the full northern boundary. So kind of a nice little path, nice little amenity for the residents to walk their dog and get some exercise. Shown below, speaking of dogs, at the bottom here, let me circle it, it's not a retention basin, but it's a secondary area that they designated as part of the buffer against Ramon Road, is a 6,000 square foot to be dedicated as a internal dog park for the community. Has a looped walking trail with benches, turf, trees, plants, and similar species as we see throughout the rest of the subdivision. This slide shows the examples of the typical front yard landscaping, which includes plans 3 through 5. Each of the proposed landscaping plans can go with any of the models, so they can all be interchangeable as a homeowner would choose, giving us even greater variety. We've done this in some of our recent projects, for example, Estillo, Escala, Ravel, same type of setup. In the Plan 3, for example, it includes 24-inch box mesquite, one 36-inch box Palo Verde, and then one 24-inch box Mediterranean fan palm. Traditional shrubs, desert shrubs, inorganic ground cover, which will include the DG, and then the boulders. So you have an overall theme throughout the entire project, from the parkways all the way down to the lots. This particular project, they originally requested some turf. We've kind of been leaning towards going the direction of avoiding turf. It's very difficult to meet the water calc, so this project decided after the fact to pull the turf. So none of these homes are being proposed with any turf. Also, to enhance the front yards, we have colored concrete with a broom finish proposed along all driveways and leading to the main entrance of the home and the side yard. As part of this project, it's required to form a Rancho Bellos Homeowner Association, which will be done eventually as the project gets taken over and constructed. Staff did prepare an initial study, and to date, we have not received any comments that would be considered significant or alter the plans. Staff will file a mitigated neg deck, which is recommended for adoption for council. At the Planning Commission had two comments. One was on the stacking distance. Let me try to go back to let's go back. Okay, right here. Actually, this is a little better. This is the entryway here. Planning Commission thought it was a little too shallow to be able to handle the amount of cars that will flow into the project, so they recommended that they shift the gate location back. I've already worked with the applicant. We've seen a couple different ideas. We could still meet all fire access, all code requirements, and they showed us to where we can get an additional 4 to 5 car stacking distance without changing that actual plan. So that's something that we've been working with. Second was the location of the mailbox enclosures. They are located right here as you come in. The post office is kind of taking a new stance on this. We used to be able to kind of spread them out, but they've gotten very strict in their rules where they want them in one location for convenience for the mailbox delivery. So we're trying to work with that to see if there's a way we can possibly distribute due to the quantity of homes throughout the park, possible locations, one here, one here, one here. So the applicant is working with the post office and the staff in order to get that. It got full endorsement from Mayor B. And that's all I can think of. So I'm going to conclude my presentation on that and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Josh. We had a subcommittee that met with the applicant, Councilman Weil and myself, and we really appreciate the time that the applicant gave us. This property, as you may know, has been before us several times with different schemes, different layouts, and I think when we look at the area, the adjacent area next to the high school, we have Tuscany on Duval, and Tuscany is a similar type of development as this, but actually this development has less units per acre than Tuscany. I think we're at 3.3 on this, and Tuscany is 3.7. So it's a great location, I think, and I think we just have some questions regarding some of the elements of the design that maybe we can address to you, Josh, and then get questions from the rest of the council. One of the things, yes, and we'll open the public hearing. One of the items normally you find in a PUD, a plan unit development like this, is a little bit more amenities, and such as swimming pool, a clubhouse, and so forth. Has there been any discussion with the applicant about that?
I've had a couple brief conversations, but I have not gotten into the details. Like, the applicant is here, and I'm sure it's a great question. If you don't mind asking him, I'm sure there's reasons for adding and not adding certain amenities as this. Okay,
I just wanted to check with you and see if you had had any discussions with it. In regard to the floor plans, it's noted on page 6-4 of the report that the floor plans vary from 3,086 feet to 3,579. But on the matrix plan in the booklet, page S4, it shows a number of footprints are down in the 2,800 square foot range. What's the difference? That's on page S4. They show lot number 26, lot 17, lot 11.
I see what you're saying. Actually, Richard, that's a great question, and I got to apologize. I don't have an answer for you right now what the difference. I've worked with the applicant. The 3,086 and the 3,579, those ranges are the correct values. I might have made a mistake on this particular section and not catching an error in this situation. I can't answer that question right now, what the difference.
Okay,
perhaps.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know Ted had a couple of questions. Ted?
Yes, Josh, you mentioned about the main entrance. In looking at it, it seems to me that it's a little too crowded. And that, frankly, if Lot 7 and 120 were deleted, that you'd be able to get most of the open space added to the exterior of the project. And the perimeter wall should be relocated and have a revised open space plan. I don't know if that was fully addressed or that was part of the conversation.
That was not a topic we discussed. Are you thinking just to give it more of an open look by
Yes.
eliminating those houses? So we wouldn't necessarily change the length or the shape of the entry, but just create more open space by not having two homes right there at the
That's
entry?
correct.
Okay.
The other concern I have is frankly the main circulation road. It doesn't accomplish, in my opinion, what it should. It doesn't transect the entire project, creating a circuitous route. If you eliminated lots 56 and 69, then you'd have a road that extended west to connect the westernmost point of the project. Lot 86 could also be deleted and replaced with a focal point open space. It would give the subdivision a much better look as opposed to a look that, frankly, is almost cookie cutter. Don't misunderstand me. I think it's a wonderful project. I think it's needed, and I think it's a price point that will do well in the community. But there are a few things here that I think would be of assistance. The other points have to do with landscaping and so forth, but we can address those to the applicant. But those are two of my main concerns that I think should be addressed.
To go on that topic, I know when we met with the subcommittee, our original design, our focus is to try to create as much customization and uniqueness in each project as we can. So we had worked with the applicant for 4 or 5 months, getting that perfect look of different design. And when we met with the subcommittee and we discussed a little more, it was needed that we need to expand some of these perimeter buffers in order to help mitigate some of these other issues, which have very significance. In doing so, the new revised plan lost about 25 to 30 lots. So I know from an applicant standpoint, and I'm not an advocate either way, but from a business standpoint, they're really at a tipping point as far as the financial numbers go, because you've got to have X amount to make sense. So I got to be honest with you, it's been one of the greatest applicants I've ever worked with. I could ask him to jump 25 times and he wouldn't hesitate. So it's been a great pleasure to get to a point. We're more than happy to let him discuss that, and maybe he can give you a better perspective on his side why it would be important to not lose these lots or to keep them, or whatever you'd like to hear. But we definitely worked with him. We tried very, very hard, and it was kind of that last little push. We didn't want to see him squeeze out another 2 or 3 lots, because in the big game, the end. We did check with fire. We did check with everything else. Circulation works. Everything still functions. Everything's still safe. But I do get what you're saying.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff before we go to the public hearing? Okay, go ahead.
I would like to, in looking at the tract map, the tentative tract map, I don't readily spot a secondary exit, and I must be missing it. So where is it?
It's down here in the corner.
Located towards your southwest corner, kind of at the bottom, right next to lots 77 and 78.
Down by the dog park, Dana.
Right. And is that access area wide enough for a large emergency vehicle?
Mm-hmm. Everything gets vetted by fire to make sure it meets fire code.
Right, it looks like it's about probably 35 feet wide.
The nice part about it is there's room to make it wider if council would like. It's along the parkway, so if we want to feel we can squeeze an extra 5, 10, 15 feet for benefit, it's not a bad idea.
Okay.
What was the rationale behind this considerable number of homes and one entrance into the project? It seems inadequate on the surface.
We looked at that from a circulation and a functioning standpoint. There was great concern due to the noise and the mitigation issues that needed to be done along Ramon to keep an actual open access, a routine open access off of Ramon Road. Doesn't mean we can't do it, but from a functionality, from a noise, from a design, it made sense to go off on the less busy street. We don't have too many subdivisions entering on to a main arterial like that. To be able to stop, to be able to come to a halt on a 60-mile-an-hour street, it just made more sense to put it off the collector instead of on the main arterial.
What work have you done with the applicant to either establish a wider front entrance or preferably a secondary entrance exit?
To be honest, we haven't gone down that road. I haven't actually approached them and said, we need an entry, a full opening, moving, functioning access off Ramon and then widen it. We haven't, but I would let the applicant speak about that and see what their ideas are.
What is the reason there's no affordable housing units connected with this project?
Well, originally this was part of our last housing element inventory. We had to include as many of our high zone properties as possible. With the new numbers and the new housing element we just did for 2014 to 2021, we were able to take this piece of property out of our inventory because we only needed 95 units. So we were able to still meet our RENA allocation and not count this as a affordable housing piece.
Why did we do that? Why would we take this out of the inventory? Why wouldn't we be encouraging? We know that we have to supply a certain number of them, and I don't understand why this project would be exempt from affordable housing. Is it because the developer had already occupied every square inch possible with houses and didn't need the bonus that goes with affordable housing?
From my understanding with this developer, and I can let him speak for himself, I just think it was the direction they chose to go with single-family homes. They thought it was the most appropriate product for this area as opposed to multi-story or housing or high density, something to that effect.
Well, I'm sure you told them that single-family homes included affordable housing.
Correct.
Okay.
We can certainly address that from the developer during the public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? Yes, Scott.
I'm just wondering, Josh, I didn't see it in the staff report, but there was, I would assume, a full traffic study done. And did that traffic study take into account the school bell times, essentially, the start of school and the end of school at Rancho Mirage High School? And it just seems more intuitive instead of, I mean, if you've been out there when school lets out,
Sure.
it's a parking lot to get out to Ramon. So if I was a homeowner and I wanted to take a right turn to get to Ramon,
it's going to be hard
at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Why are we mandating that the entrance and exit of the housing project be on Rattler Road as opposed to creating a pocket turn on Ramon?
I think maybe not necessarily use the word mandate. I think we're trying to work with the applicant on the best solution from a staff's perspective of what we thought was the most efficient and the most beneficial. This is the direction we ended up going. Could you make a solid argument and I can rationalize how it should be Ramon and how we can do this? Absolutely. The argument can be made. I think from our standpoint is we tried to, use our best experiences, our best rationale, what the city's makeup is, the desires and goals of the city, and that was the solution. But I do understand 8 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, it's going to be a little more chaotic because of the amount of volume coming through.
What is the applicant's preference?
The applicant decided when we talked about this to go this route. They would prefer not to, but I'd like to let him speak on it so I don't put too many words in his mouth.
So they prefer not to have the entrance and exit on Rattler Road?
They prefer it on Rattler Road.
They prefer
with staff's discussion, this was a preferred method.
Great.
Or preferred location.
Thanks.
Okay. I do have a few
Iris.
questions.
Yes.
Number one, could you tell us what the range of the home prices would be?
I would leave that to the applicant. I don't know for sure. I haven't done any studies or asked him.
Okay, and how many phases would this require?
I know they're going to start with a model complex that will be on lots 117 to 122, which is just to the north of the entryway. That'll be their main starting point. As far as how many phases, I don't know right now how it's going to take. I've been told they plan on building the whole thing out, so as fast as they could sell them, they will absolutely build them. It's full intention to complete the project,
Okay.
but I have not discussed phasing with them yet.
Okay, and I'm delighted that they're going to be including a dog park. The blow sand mitigation, I know the developer's going to get back to you with his plan. Do you know what that's going to include?
I believe Public Works has traditional standards for how they mitigate the blow sand. There's certain requirements that they have to install as part of it to help prevent it. The specifics, to be honest, I don't know.
Okay. One of my suggestions might be, as long as we're just in the planning stages here, that it might make it more desirable for ingress and egress to maybe have an entrance of some sort between lots 4 and 5, and then maybe up higher where it says Lot L, where it's a cul-de-sac, maybe have another entrance at that location. It's pretty high density, and just to have a number of cars try to enter or exit at one time from one entrance, I think might be a little problematic.
I'm sorry, is that a question or was that just a statement?
It's a statement that
Okay.
it might be a suggestion.
Sure,
That
sure.
as long as we're in the planning stages.
Absolutely. No, I definitely. I mean, I got to just to. I'm trying not to be the advocate, but we've worked very, very hard with this applicant to try to hit all these little details and finite minutia to make sure it meets the city's goals.
Right.
But the applicant is here, and I'm more than happy he'll address some of these questions and concerns and see where we can go.
Okay.
Okay, it's Dana, you have a question?
Yeah, just one comment from Iris's perspective. City Council's not in the planning stage. If we approve this, we have approved it, and that's that.
Right.
They may make some voluntary changes that staff might urge, but we are being asked to approve not only the tract map, but the preliminary development plan, both at the same time. So this isn't, we're not tinkering with this. We are approving or not approving this.
Okay, well, at this time, what I'd like to do is go ahead and open the public hearing and ask the applicant to come forward and give us a little bit of an overview and then try and address some of the questions that were brought before staff. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. This one?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. I'm Scott Oldham with Pelagic Real Estate. I'm the project manager. We've worked for the last 18 months with staff and really at your request, to listen to staff and Randy and the city manager, really to get to this the spot we're at today. I think that we've developed what's going to be a very nice community. I think it's appropriate for Rancho Mirage, more appropriate than past approvals, 450 units and the like. And I'm here to answer your question.
Okay, do you want to start with some of the questions regarding entrance and exit out of the project?
Yeah, we, working with staff, because Ramon is such a busy 6-lane road, that it was a safety issue, really, to have an entrance out there. We increased our stacking and increased the entrance along Rattler, and it really kind of met, staff's approval, to that point. So that was really the reason for that.
Okay.
And that's it? No comment about when the problem hours will occur and what will occur if things do crowd up? How long it'll take people to get in? How long it'll take people to get out who have jobs at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock?
It was looked at in our traffic study. They accounted for actually the full high school, not just, there's only 2 years there now. Working with staff and going through it, we didn't have a problem if it wanted to be on Ramon, but what we heard back, our feedback from staff, from, really the city, was not to put an entrance or an exit out there.
You're hearing it now, though, and it's the same as if you were hearing it from staff. The process.
If you would like us to put a right out or something onto Ramon, I don't think that would be a problem.
No, I think Ramon would be a problem. I don't think entrance or exit on Ramon is an ideal solution. It is a busy street, and it would probably cause accidents eventually. But I don't see why you can't have more than one entrance to this project off of Rattler Road.
Is that helping the school time, or maybe I don't understand that?
I'm not even thinking about the school. I'm thinking about the residents who are going to be living there.
Okay. From our standpoint, it was always fine with one entrance, one exit. For the last 18 months, we've had multiple site plans that have come, before the city, before staff, before the subcommittee, and looked at it all different ways.
Has the subject of an inadequacy with respect to the entrance ever been discussed in your presence?
Not that I was aware of, no. I personally don't think it's inadequate, but I don't know if I have a clear answer on that. As far as I know, we're talking about school hours and those kind of things, but that's all going to be on Rattler if we put another entrance or exit there. I don't know how that's necessarily going to help that. And if you look on the the actual entrance, there's actually 2 lanes that can come in and out. The gate's 1 lane, but once you get to, past the gate, there are actually, 2 lanes of cars that can.
When you get past the gate, you mean to the east side of the gate?
To the east or the west, depending upon whether you're
Exiting
coming in or-
onto Rattler Road.
But up till then, people exiting, it could be a pretty long line at certain hours of the day, couldn't it? Don't you anticipate that it will be?
Given the demographics of what we believe the actual homeowners are going to be, it's going to be 50%, perennial, people who live, in Rancho Mirage and work in Rancho Mirage, and 50% are going to be, the snowbirds or second home buyers that we never really looked at it as being a problem, because I don't think all 122, houses are going to be leaving at one time or, there at one time. At least
I don't think I was suggesting that all 122 houses would be leaving at the same time. I think I was talking something more realistic about 2 or 3 dozens more than that probably, but 2 or 3 dozen people leaving to go to work.
The gardeners.
Plus people who come in and leave.
Well,
I just think that it's inadequate.
Okay, let's, Josh, have you looked at the traffic study on this?
I was going to say the traffic study analyzes full traffic from surrounding the project itself, the impacts, the high school, takes everything into consideration, and as proposed, it meets what it needs to meet. The design is adequate to handle the traffic flow from the subdivision, including the high school during peak times. Everything has been studied and it meets as is. We have other subdivisions that function like this. I know they may not be near a high school, but they're near other major interchanges, and there's a large amount of traffic flow. So based upon the study, based upon what we've learned, our staff knowledge, this design is adequate. But of course, the council has the right to, discuss further as they need.
Okay, maybe we can come back to this issue and see, Ted, you had a couple of questions.
I did, and by the way, I'm sympathetic because I'm a developer, and no developer likes to lose lots. And I understand where you're coming from. My concerns, however, unfortunately, involve cutting the density down, and one of them is really the entryway here, which concerns me as being very crowded, too crowded.
Can you bring up number 16 on that? I think it's 16, so we can look at that.
And I'm talking about, in this case, deleting lot 7 and 120 and creating more open space on the exterior as far as the project is concerned. The perimeter wall would be relocated and you have a more open space plan. And I just think it would be a better, more attractive look and free up some of that congestion. That would be one of my concerns. And the other had to do with, frankly, the circulation problem going through the project. It stops. You don't have a spine that goes the whole way through and around. And that bothers me. I don't like the circulation that I would eliminate lots 56 and 69 and connect to the westerly portion. Lot 86 would also be deleted with a more of an open space plan, precisely. That just would, in my opinion, work so much more practically. And I agree with the mayor's point. In looking this over, there just is, for a subdivision this size, there is a lack of amenities. There's a lack of activities that a planned community should have, whether it be a swimming pool, whether it be a clubhouse, whether it be some activities. There should be additional amenities available for the residents that are going to be there. That does concern me.
We did add, 3 parks, the 2 dog parks that are at, either end of the west side, as well as a gazebo and barbecue area up by the retention basin. There was a couple, points that we made all of our lots in this larger than the zone called for at 7,000 feet, so that everybody could have a private back door or a backyard, open space with a pool. And if you look, everyone has a California room or this covered outdoor room. When looking at the market and really studying what we thought was appropriate here, knowing that you can go up to, the zone is up to 9 units to the acre. So actually a much more dense project is actually zoned, in the city. And that's why, from the marketing standpoint and looking at kind of the way Rancho Mirage, I believe, wants to live, that's why we came up with the plan we did. As far as, and the recreational amenities and those kind of things, we met with Tuscany a couple of times. I met with their HOA. They're really not using their community pool. It's really kind of a burden to them, and they actually don't want to pay for it. It's an HOA due problem that they have, and that's why we have the plan that we have. Those are the reasons, at least, behind it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that as far as the pool is concerned. I'm thinking about something with less maintenance, whether it be a half a basketball court or a backboard for tennis or a couple of tennis courts, something that doesn't require that heavy maintenance. I agree as far as the pool is concerned.
And we don't have much in the retention basin as far as amenities, barbecue maybe, but there's no equipment out there for children or any playground area, that sort of thing.
We have a park that's right next to the retention. I think is probably maybe a more appropriate place to put something if there's a rain event. We don't want those things to flood or get damaged. Okay. We're open to changing that rec area or that park area with what we think is, or what staff believes is appropriate for.
Okay. Can we go back to page 16 again, or? So let's discuss the issue of taking the street straight through to the westerly street. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you think is appropriate?
Our original, obviously we've been working for about 18 months on this, and we've had 20 different site plans that we've brought before you. Before we went and put the buffer streets around, we did have a spine street that went through. We're just down to a spot where, I think we originally started with about 160 lots. Mm-hmm. We're down to 122, and we're just at a spot where, financially we're being burdened by, lot count and just looking at, economics of a viable development here. So,
I know one of the planning commission meetings, staff, or not the regular meeting, but the planning meeting, less formal, the discussion about that street was brought up as to whether it could be extended through or not. And I guess at that point you decided that it wasn't appropriate, or you didn't need to do that.
It's just, we're really close to not having a project. So
okay.
It's the loss of lots is, given just the amount of time, the amount of effort and stuff that we put in, we're kind of at that point where it's kind of a breaking point for us.
Mayor, I used to live in Tuscany. Nobody used the pool. Nobody used the hot tub. Nobody used the playground. It's a waste of space. And if the project's not going to happen, that's kind of a ridiculous requirement. Okay. So I think the developer's correct.
That's what we heard from the meeting. They actually said that the only people that use the pool are kids from Cathedral City.
Okay. Looking at the spine street, at the intersections, I show on the 3rd Street over you have pavers there. Can you do pavers on all of the intersections?
Sure.
Okay, I think it would give a little bit more classy.
Are you talking like along the bottom? And
yeah, well, the spine street going through, there are a couple of intersections there that are just regular. I think it'll look a lot nicer if we can do pavers at each one of those.
Sure.
Okay.
Scott, are you the actual developer, or are you getting the entitlements in place for a developer? What is?
We are actually the developer. We actually today submitted our improvement drawings to the city. So sitting before you today, we're actually the developer. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. One more question.
Yes, Iris.
As long as I'm very concerned about just only having the one entrance, and as long as you have between lots 119 and 120 a cul-de-sac, isn't there any way that cul-de-sac could be extended? You wouldn't be losing any houses? It'd be extended out to Rattler Road?
Bring it straight out?
Bring it straight out to Rattler Road, and you'd have 2 areas of ingress and egress?
You know, I don't really see a reason that we couldn't. I just don't know how many people would use that. There's only, you know, maybe 9 or 10 homes up there that would
Well, even
probably go that way, or?
Unfortunately, there's nowhere for them to go except left into the crowded main street on this design.
Is that a problem? Cutting
I
that all the way
don't see it being
through?
a problem, no. It is our model complex, so we would like to have that closed and not have a, you know, an open street there.
Right.
I don't know from a
but-
stacking point from, you know, engineering or
And
something. if it-
it probably wouldn't have to be done right away. I mean, as you get further into the development and the additional phases and more homes sell,
Sure,
that might be something to consider.
sure.
Dana, you're concerned with some of the,
I'm concerned with a lot of things.
yeah. I was
With
just going
respect
to
to
ask
the
you,
exit, I'd like to ask you a question about
yeah, I was going to ask you a question about what you said about the exit onto Ramon.
Right.
Do you think we could do a protected exit there, which would be
I think because of the clearly inadequate entrance and exit aspect of this plan, that exit down there should be in such a manner so as to encourage in and out, not in, should encourage exiting traffic all day long, setting it up so that it doesn't become a hazard for Ramon, for travelers heading westbound.
so
There's
rather
just
than,
not enough room for people to get out of this.
Yeah.
If there was an emergency, this would be calamity number one in the city, in my view.
Well, one of the reasons that we've moved to, you know, single ingress is fire sprinklers are required for everything. So if it was a fire as an emergency, it would be solved by the fire sprinklers coming on. But
It would be solved by what?
there's sprinklers for every house are required by California.
So you're saying this is immune to a fire tragedy of
Within a
multi-home
structure, those
gas main exploded? The sprinklers inside are somehow going to prevent the houses that are affected from being consumed in flames? I don't think so.
that was just the reason behind the.
okay. Iris, did you have any further questions?
No.
Okay. Ted?
No, I
Scott? Dana?
I think it should go back to the planning department for more work and more consideration.
Okay. Let me continue with the public hearing, and we may get back to you. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this item?
Good afternoon. My name is Ali Baba Farzana. I live in Rancho Mirage.
Good afternoon.
And I'm not speaking for developer. I don't even know who they are. But there's some honesty that can kill the project. If you keep cutting the lots, it got to pencil out somehow. If Mr. Will wants to move 2 houses from the gate, I think that's designed very nicely. And there's enough room to enter and exit. About having 2 entrances, that is not beneficiary because I live in Santo Tomas. We have 155 houses there. We never have any problem, and there's only 1 entry gate and only 1 exit. If we compare project to project, it's not fair for this developer to come and have 2 gates because having 2 gates is going to cost money for the residents because more gate you have, more operation costs, repair, electricity, homeowner association is going to go higher and there's no need. Staff, I think, have studied them very carefully about there are some other things that Mr. Vale was mentioning about maybe opening those 2 lots, remove it, let that entrance go all the way there. I think that makes more sense. But removing 2 houses from the gate on each side, this is my personal opinion now.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and Comments? Iris, you want to start with any comments that you have on the project?
Concerned about the safety issue of an emergency, and that's
Okay, the access and
The
the
access.
egress and ingress.
Yes.
Okay.
that's the only concern, and I think it can be done without removing any homes.
Okay, I would think so, yeah. Okay, Ted?
Well, I think Dana started to echo what my thoughts were. In my opinion, there's enough concerns here. There are enough issues that I feel that it should be referred back to the Planning Commission so that these can be properly addressed before being presented to the council again.
Okay, specifically access and what else?
Well, I think we're talking about basically the entrance. We're talking about an additional exit onto Ramon. And as you brought up, Mr. Mayor, the other point being any additional amenities to the project.
Okay.
I think those are the 3 points.
Okay, thank you. Scott, did you have any comments?
Yes, I think it's a fine project. I think you've worked hard. We've heard great things from staff of your compliance over the last 18 months. I applaud you for putting together a project that meets a certain economic demand within the city at the appropriate place. I think the project will sell well and would be a great addition to the city. I think that moving the entrance and exit to Ramon Road with the appropriate safety mechanisms, meaning probably a large pocket turn-in, maybe even a signal, although it's awfully close to the signal at Rattler Road, so I'm not quite sure how that would work. But I think that's really the only concern that I would have and something that could easily be worked out with staff. I would support your project as is. Congratulations to staff for doing a great job working with them. I'm sorry that the climate is such that your project may or may not be successful or move forward at this point, but you have my full support.
Thank you. Dana, do you have any closing comments?
My closing comment is I think it should go back to. My closing comment is I think that it should go back to staff, that the issues that we've discussed should be worked on and hopefully worked out. This is a high-density project, and it's got to be safe for the people who live there, and it has to be convenient from a city perspective of ingress and egress. And the lack of amenities is something that ought to be addressed somewhere. I mean, except for outside, this park down at the end by the so-called exit. I mean, there's nothing in here that creates anything for play. Children, I suspect that a lot of children will eventually live in this area, and that it is affordable from a family perspective. And I think that just because that it is going to be a high-density community, I don't think that we should cut short the amenities and the safety elements. And I think we're hurrying through them if we approve it at this point. I would move to send it back to staff to work on the issues with the subcommittee that we've been discussing, and bring it back to us after some improvements are made.
May I ask a quick question? Bruce, can you chime in or just let us know how many other subdivisions are like this throughout the city that, from a traffic standpoint and emergency, operate just fine?
Who's talking?
Joshua, ask Bruce.
Bruce, we have a motion on the floor. Could I have a second, and then we can go to questions?
Second.
Is there a second on the motion?
I second.
You second the motion. Okay. We'll take questions. Bruce, can you answer the question?
Well, I would say I have worked with the applicant a little bit on this, and we did look at the traffic study. Ramon is a high-speed road. However, I think there could be something worked out at that exit where the fire access point is. I think we can work out a small deceleration lane there. I agree with that we should probably have a secondary access there. I think it would make it flow better. That way the people to the west side could exit, people to the east side could exit off a different one. I wouldn't so much recommend maybe an entrance. There could be a right in there and a right out. I wouldn't recommend any type of a left in You're dealing with 3 lanes of traffic at 60-plus miles an hour, and I would not recommend a left in there, but at least a right in, right out. I'm sure we can make that work, for sure.
Thank you. Did you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, just from the standpoint of, working with staff, I mean, that's really what we've tried to do for the last 18 months. I mean, we really got to this point by listening to everything that everyone has said and incorporating it into our plan. From a traffic study to solve that wasn't something that, we were trying to do. It's not something that we've ever really tried to push. When we came in here 18 months ago, I believe it was Bud and Josh, and we sat down and said, hey, we really want to be a partnership with the city. We really want to build something that is appropriate for Rancho Mirage. Lots of other people have tried with this property to build something high density, which is actually within the zone, and we really thought it was more appropriate to build something low density. It's actually low density. It's 3.3 units to the acre. That's kind of how we got here. We didn't decide to not put a right in or a right out on Ramon because we didn't want to do it. It was really something that the staff, and Mayor Hines, I think when we started, said, and I think everybody along the way, listen to staff, which we've done to get to this point. And I think the project is I actually think it's excellent. We're very proud of what we've done with staff and how hard our team has worked at it as well. If we need to solve the issue of the entrance and it just being one and having a right in and right out on Ramon, we'll do that because we've really done everything. Every time we've been asked to do something, we've done it. So I'm kind of stand before you saying, hey, we'll go ahead and do that. We'd like to get it approved and get it moving. Like I said, we have improvement drawings over at Public Works and we're ready to give them a big check today. So
Yeah, I think from what you hear up here, the council likes the project. We're just concerned about some of the special aspects that I know you've gone back and forth between staff and the subcommittee, and we've really come up with a good project, but there are still some elements that the council has concerns about, and I think to not address those concerns before we give you the final approval would probably be inappropriate for us. We like the project, we like the applicant, we like where we're going here, but there are certain issues that need to be resolved, and I think we can get through those issues in a relatively short period of time so we don't delay the project past any near-end date.
Is it possible to condition some of these things so that we can work with staff to move this forward? Or?
Well, I think we'll end up with the same thing. We know the areas that we need to tweak a little bit and improve. So if you just allow us to go back and look at it again, have your staff come in, sit down with our staff and the subcommittee, we can push this through and get everybody on the same page so the council feels comfortable with the development. We all like the development. It's not that we don't like the development. There are just some issues that need to be resolved.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just say a comment also. I think it's a wonderful project, and I'm so delighted that you've moved this far on the project with staff. And as Richard said, that it's just a couple of little things when it comes to safety that if they can just be addressed and then move forward, I think it's going to be wonderful, and I think it's going to have a lot of nice families, and we'll do exceptionally well. But those safety issues are something that always concern.
Is that something we can? I mean, the safety, from what I hear, is another exit or another entrance.
Well,
I believe that's something we can do.
There are issues regarding amenities, issues regarding the safety, the entrances, maybe something to do with the pavers that I brought up. There are a number of issues that rather than try to condition each one of those items, I think if we just take it back, we can address all those issues at the same time, and then we can bring it back.
We're not in a position to condition it based on the knowledge we've got. We would have to sit down or know that somebody has sat down and worked out with the expertise that you provide and the expertise that the city provides to solve some of these problems. We're not going to be able to give you conditions that would be meaningful at this stage anyway. And apparently, if I can address this, you seem almost surprised that the city council has a vote in this as a whole. Staff brings it to the city council, but my hope would have been that you had known from day one that you had to have approval of city council, not only the staff recommendations, but the city council as well. So this, I hope, doesn't come as a great surprise to you. And sometimes we just think a little bit differently from how staff has thought, and that's why we're asking it to go back. Nobody's trying to kill the project. We're trying to improve it so that you can get smooth sailing.
Okay. Okay, are there any final comments before we have a vote? Oh, city attorney has a comment. Steve?
So we provide clear direction to staff, which is going to include myself, because I'll be at that planning commission meeting. I've kept some notes here, and if you guys are comfortable with this, maybe you can let us know if you are. If not, refine it.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is that there's, you guys are inclined to remand this project back to the planning commission for the following purposes. To consider providing safe.
Wait a minute, Steve, do we have to go back to planning
Commission?
Yeah, can we
Is that
just,
what you're doing?
can we go back to a subcommittee and then come back to the council?
Back to the planning department.
Planning department.
Okay, to send it back to the planning department. Right. To have the staff and the applicant consider providing safe and adequate egress and ingress on Ramon Road to meet the routine and emergency needs of the project and the people residing in it. To explore the feasibility of having the spine road span the entire width of the project by eliminating houses on lots 56, 69, and 86. To assess the need for adding additional family-related amenities to the common areas. To consider installing decorative paving at each of the intersections along the spine street. And considering enhancing the Rattler Road entrance to address ingress and egress issues pertaining to the routine and emergency traffic needs.
And what did you have on that exit to consider the possibility, as Bruce had talked about?
Yeah, that's
making an exit.
Yeah, to consider
routine exit there.
Yeah, providing safe and adequate egress and ingress on Ramon Road for routine and emergency purposes and needs of the residents of the project.
Yeah. Okay.
And that would be able to be brought back to council without having to go to planning commission again.
If that's your direction,
okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
But the committee would definitely work with them on that.
Okay, would you please vote on the motion? And the motion carries 4-1 with Scott Hines, the lone opposing vote. Okay, we will now move on to the next item, which is item number 7. And Gloria Griego, are you going to be, Kim, you're going to be taking care of this?
I will do my best to stand in for Gloria. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The city received a special funding request from the American Cancer Society, who has a local chapter here in the desert. They are a 501c3. They have requested a funding amount of $5,000. In conjunction with that request, we have the American Cancer Society sponsoring their annual Relay for Life here in Rancho Mirage, and I understand that we have several representatives along with the American Cancer Society to discuss the program. Come on up.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Julie Mignona, and I'm here representing the American Cancer Society. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the 4th annual Relay for Life event in Rancho Mirage. It's specific to the city of Rancho Mirage. It is on May 3rd and 4th this year. It is a 24-hour community event to fight cancer. Raising money for programs and services, and these programs and services, along with research, go to fight cancer all around the community here in Rancho Mirage and around the country. The programs and services include the Look Good, Feel Better program here in the Coachella Valley. It's held at Lucy Kersey Cancer Center once a month, and this includes providing instruction on coping with the appearance of side effects of treatment for women going through cancer treatment. They get a makeup kit, a licensed cosmetologist provides them instruction. Kind of losing your hair is a really difficult thing, going through the different changes from chemotherapy and radiation. And so this really provides a necessary benefit to the women in the community. Along with our Road to Recovery program, which provides rides to both appointments and treatment. A lot of cancer patients can't drive themselves to treatment, and so we provide that service to the community and to those patients. We also provide a Hope Lodge, which is providing lodging to families and patients who have to travel for their treatment. We work in conjunction with the Extended Stay America to provide free lodging for these patients and families here in the community. And all of our programs and services are scheduled through our 1-800 number, which provides just endless amounts of information to cancer patients. They can call 24 hours a day and speak with a live person to talk about their treatment, the issues they're having, any services we can provide, any services that are out there in the community that we may not necessarily provide. We put them in contact with that, and funding and different things like that. We also provide a wig bank at the Lucy Kersey Cancer Center every Wednesday from 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. for those who've lost their hair through treatment. So we really are working in the community in Rancho Mirage to fight cancer, and we just greatly appreciate your support.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay.
I have no questions, but I wanted to make a comment that I think it's important to note that staff is also not only very involved with this, but they are going to be contributing $5,000, of which when we met last week, they had already amassed $4,000, and they're very proud of their efforts, and we're very proud of them. And it's wonderful, I think, for our city to be able to join forces with our staff for such a worthy cause. And I know there's so many categories that the giving really covers, and it's individuals that are physically handicapped, developmentally disabled, people that are housebound, and it goes to the whole gamut of people that are married, single, with family, with dependents, without. So it really addresses a whole gamut of people that are greatly in need. And I'm very proud that you are doing the work you're doing, and I'm very proud that our staff is so involved.
Thank you. Yeah, they have been really, really amazing.
Okay, and the location again?
The location is at Palm Valley School, and it starts at 9 a.m. on May 3rd and goes all the way until 9 a.m. on May 4th. And there's also a free breakfast for survivors and caregivers. We really celebrate those who have battled cancer and the people who've been there to support them through that journey.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this item? Sandra, you're involved in the staff. Would you like to speak on this item while you're up there?
Actually, I was just going to boast a little bit. It's actually 6,000 staff has contributed up to now.
Okay, that's great. Good work. Anybody else in the audience who would like to speak? Okay, could I have a motion, please? And the motion is for how much? $5,000. Okay. Turn on your mic.
I'll make a motion to contribute $5,000 on the behalf of the city to the Relay for Life American Cancer Society.
Second.
Okay, please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, and I know the staff will just keep on working on this, so you'll probably end up with more in the future. So good job to the staff. Okay, we'll now move on to item number 8, which is also under Gloria Grego's kind of governed, but Kim will take care of this one also, and this is the canine friendly visitors. Kim?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I also want to put a plug in to Sandra and Isaiah, as they are honorary team captains for our Relay for Life event. So they put a lot of hard work in so far. City has received a request from Canine Friendly Visitors. They are a 501c3, and their specialty is using therapy dogs, certified therapy dogs, and service dogs for a variety of physical and developmentally disabled individuals. Approximately 300 clients so far. They do some of their service activities in Whitewater, Michael Wilson Park, and other areas of Rancho Mirage. We do have a representative from this organization in the audience if he would like to say a few words.
Okay, nice to have you here today.
Well, my grant application is for, since I've been...
And your name and address?
I'm sorry, I'm Michael New at 36531 Palomino Lane, Rancho Mirage.
Thank you, Michael.
And, since Canine Visitors' inception, we've grown with our request to service the disabled community that exists in the Coachella Valley greatly. And recently we've had a request to serve two Rancho Mirage, also non-for-profits, the Braille Institute. We've experimented with their youth program in working with the service dogs, and so we've developed a summer program for those blind youth that don't have anything to do, that we're developing an education program where actually this week Ms. Motrich and Mr. Harry came and visited at Wilson Park and watched our program in action. And we'll be doing field trips with the Braille Institute to Wilson Park and Whitewater. All the money that we use has been really re-imploded back into the community through field trips and education. I have a matching grant. The expansion of the program, the requirements are $6,200. I've asked for half of the funds because if I receive the funds, I have another grant that will cover the other half of expenses to expand the program.
Okay, and where will the money be spent?
Well, the money is spent, will be spent when we do the field trips, when we host the field trips like at Wilson Park and those places. We use Rancho Mirage businesses to provide lunch and services to the students or to the disabled community, as well as the fact of one of the other things that we're going to be doing is, which people don't know about, is that the Braille Institute has a service that's a dial-in menu for the blind. So we're really working with the dogs to increase the self-esteem of the disabled. So we're going to be doing an outing at some of the Rancho Mirage restaurants with those people to help their functioning. And so before they go to, like if we go to the old spaghetti factory, those blind youth will be, the dogs make them comfortable and make them comfortable to do the outings. There's a service through the Braille that they'll be able to call. They have a reader who then reads them the menu so they know the menu before they pre-order. We go to the old spaghetti factory with the dogs, and they really help develop their self-esteem and their abilities in functioning, as part of able-bodied members of our society.
Okay.
Thank you.
Iris, do you have any comments, since this is an item that you worked on and you approved the spending?
Yes, and we did work on it. Ted and I worked with Gloria on this, and I think it is a remarkable program. And as Michael said, that Bruce and I were at the park yesterday while they were having lunch, and Bruce spoke with them for a few moments, describing some things in the park and some things with the plants. What a lot of people don't realize is that this program has been so successful that in the last 9 months, there was one individual in particular, and I believe his name is Jose, and he started out and he was completely wheelchair bound. And then when he had enough therapy where he could move the little handle on a motorized vehicle, on a wheelchair, he moved to that. And then we had enough therapy that he could move onto a walker. And although he walks with great difficulty, he still gets around on his own with a little assistance. But it's quite amazing to see the progress that has been made. Some of these children have never made eye contact with people. And this teaches them to not only be socially more attuned to how to get along with people and how to get along with each other, but the ones that are afraid of dogs are now enjoying the dogs to every degree. As you saw in the picture, that Jose was sitting in his chair and he was brushing one of the dogs. And I might also add that one of the dogs, who is the newest acquisition, is Rain, and she's just darling, and she is completely blind. And she has been certified. She passed tests with glowing colors, and she is now an addition to the other two service dogs. So Michael is out there doing incredible work. He services over 400 clients, and most of them are in Rancho Mirage. So I think that when you see his program in action, you really have great pride in what he's doing.
Thank you.
So, thank you,
Ted,
Michael.
Do you have a comment on this?
No, Iris is intimately familiar with the story. When she told me, I thought it was just, very heartwarming, and the work that you do is extremely gratifying. So we're delighted to be able to support you.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this item? Council, any further comments? Scott? Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0. And we'll now move on to item number 9. Which is an easement agreement between the Housing Authority and the City of Rancho Mirage. And Bruce, are you going to discuss this? Or Steve?
I think I'm going to, Steve, do you want to start with this, or?
Why don't you go ahead?
You're on, Bruce.
Okay, thank you. What you have before you today is an easement agreement between the City of Rancho Mirage and the Rancho Mirage Housing Authority. This easement is necessary for the city to perform its expansion of our Whitewater Park. This property is located directly west of the existing park, where we're going to build a parking lot, as well as some children's playground area. The Housing Authority currently owns this property. It's currently in a dirt state. We use it right now for our art affair for the artists to park their vehicles, offload, and things like that. What we'd like to do is have the Housing Authority grant a irrevocable easement to the city for the expansion of the Whitewater Park. The Housing Authority would benefit from this with the residents from the San Jacinto Villas. They will be able to use all the added amenities from the park, which will include the new amphitheater and other things such as the training facilities that we're going to put out there, these training stations, exercise stations, and we're going to be building 2 new pickleball courts. So we believe that the San Jacinto Villas residents will use this park tremendously. Access will be easy to get for them via sidewalk. So what we're asking today is for the council, as well as the Housing Authority from the Rancho Mirage Housing Board, to approve this easement for the city to begin with the park construction, which we hope to be bringing to you on May 1st.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments from staff? Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, can we have a motion, please? There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Please vote.
Mayor Kite, could you try your vote again, please?
And the motion carries. Motion carries 5-0. And that's the last item for the day. And I just want to say before we leave today, come back in 2 weeks. On May 1st, we'll have the transition to the new mayor. And I want to thank Scott for his 4 years of service to the city of Rancho Mirage. And the meeting's adjourned.